My first memories of crawfishing, my dad had a farm. It was in the city limits. We had a Go Devil boat, and I remember I would drive the Go Devil boat, and he would pick up the traps.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Louisiana Farm Bureau podcast. I'm Karl Wiggers, your host, and today I've got with me Dylan Benoit. We're on his farm, and we're actually, obviously, very clearly not in the studio. We're sitting on one of his crawfish boats. This is a 2024 edition, he says. So Dylan, tell me where we're at, and guess what? Today's January 19th, 16th. We're gonna be airing this later, but can we kind of the lay of the land? Where are we? What's going on right now on your farm?
We in central Jeff Davis Parish. We getting geared up full force crawfishing, and we're about 70%, I would say, in production. We got some more guys to come in, some more traps to put out, but it looks good. So far, so good. Cold weather's kind of put us a dampener on us, but we making it. It's going good.
Feeling pretty optimistic.
I am. I'm very optimistic from what we had last year.
Yeah. Quite the contrast, I guess.
Very, very different.
Earlier we were talking about it, and it's like we're here mid-January, and you're already catching what you were catching at the best as far as last year, right?
Yeah, pretty close.
So it's mid-January. We've got a cold snap, just coming out of a cold snap. We got another one coming next week.
Arctic blast.
Arctic blast. There you go. Are y'all getting predicted snow down here?
Yeah, a little bit. They saying 1 to 3, just kind of depending on the model you look at.
Who knows? I'm excited for the potential with my baby boy, but also.
Well, we'll drive to your house to go see it. I don't want it here.
You don't want it here. I agree. I understand. So for anyone watching maybe doesn't understand or listening that doesn't understand, how does that cold affect crawfish?
Yeah.
Give me kind of the lay of the land on that.
It's like anything. They just go dormant. I mean, they'll run on a front, ahead of a front, and they'll run a couple days behind. But when you get those kind of temperatures, I mean, they're just not going to move. Most thing I'm concerned about is the water free, the frozen water and how deep it's going to get. I'm optimistic that it's not going to be deadly, but I mean, there is a possibility. It could be bad, worse than I would think.
Yeah. I mean, would it be a similar, I guess, detriment as like a drought? Would you rather freezing than drought like you had last year?
I'd rather adequate weather. I don't know the answer. I can't say one's worse than the other because I don't want to see neither one of them again. But I'm hoping it's 2 days and it gets out of here and we get back to normal. Yeah, it's going to be a very, very slow start. I wouldn't think it's going to get back to normal if the weather gets good till February 1st.
Got you. So it'll delay on a couple weeks. They just go
dormant. I mean, they're just going to burrow right in close to the bottom of the ground and as deep as they can. You want to keep your water. The deeper it is, the more insulation you have. Makes sense.
Okay. So cold weather, super cold weather, bad. Cool-ish weather is okay.
And one thing I wanted to say, like in front of those fronts, they usually molt, so they grow. Every time a front comes through, most of the time they grow, and so that's why it takes time. And the better weather, they grow with sunshine and stuff like that. But they do need some kind of weather event, seem like, to help them molt and
spark and next shell and next size up. Essentially, they're sizing up every time.
Yep, pretty much.
Which is what we as consumers like.
Yeah,
I'm sure you as a farmer like it too, huh?
I want to get them the biggest crawfish they can get.
Yeah. We were at your dock earlier where y'all are bringing in some sacks. Give me kind of how does your farm structured as far as are you selling to individuals like myself a couple sacks for crawfish bowls?
Man,
what's your business model look like in that regard?
So I usually tell people to go to the retailers that we sell to. There's some local retailers and some in Lake Charles that we sell to. So I usually don't sell to the public. I usually just tell them to go to the retailer that I sell to. I'm just not set up for that. You know what I mean? We're production, wholesale, distribute. And then we still do business with the other wholesalers. But like as a personal, what would you call that? A retailer? I'm not a retailer.
Got you. Okay. So, but you are supplying local
restaurants,
local retail restaurants,
seafood markets.
Okay.
I mean, some local, but mostly, Houston and New Orleans. And I think, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure they go further than that.
Got you. That's one thing we've talked a lot riding around in the truck about this, but you're really blessed to have crawfish and rice that kind of are hitting opposite sides of the year, so you're kind of staying busy year round.
Correct.
I don't know if that's blessed or a curse.
Well,
if you like a break every now and then.
It's a full-time job.
It's a full-time job, but you have that. Both of those commodities end up looking exactly like they do coming out of a combine or off of a boat. Both of those commodities hit consumers' plates. My dad grows corn and soybeans, and it's like it's getting to a consumer plate through the cow in your burger or the chicken at Popeyes, but it takes a few steps.
Indirect. I'm a direct.
You get to
he's
see
an
that.
indirect.
You get to see that. How cool is that for you?
We take a lot of pride. I mean, we say this all the time when people talk about herbicides or, just anything in general. We eat it. I feed my family the same thing, and I mean, we ain't got 3 eyeballs yet.
Yeah, but it's really a cool thing that you get to say, like, this rice in my gumbo, this crawfish that our family's boiled.
Yep.
Came from the fields that that you work. That's just such a cool thing.
I never thought of it that way, but it is a blessing.
That's really neat.
It really is.
We've talked a lot about today the cost of things, cost of labor, cost of supplies, the cost of crawfish. One of the things that it's always hard for us whenever you're thinking about this week in Louisiana agriculture, we're talking to consumers. We're trying to sell that the agriculture, the work that you do, your family does, to a consuming public. And we want to celebrate, like, hey, prices for crawfish are going down. And every time we write that into a script or something, I'm just like, but what about the crawfish farmers?
That don't bother me. I mean,
but what for you? Whenever you think about prices for crawfish, what do you want? Like, is there a sweet spot?
Well, I think the biggest thing is like if our price drops and then the restaurants don't drop, that's what I see, and I'm like, man, that's not fair. But on the other hand, usually when the price drops, I mean, the catch is good.
Yeah.
So as long as the restaurants drop or the retailers drop, should move more product.
So it's a simple supply demand.
Yeah. It don't always work like that, but in theory, that's the way it should work.
Yeah. I've always, like I said, every time I write a script or see that in a script, I'm like, ew. Are farmers happy with the prices going down? I guess it just
You can always want more, but I mean, at the end of the day, it seems like it always works out. We still here.
Yeah, so you're still doing something right. But but what I think about is to have Carlos driving this boat and to have the guys back at the dock, weighing these crawfish sacks, the traps, the bait, the boat itself, like these are all expenses. The water that's in the pond.
Yeah.
Like they're all expenses, and it's an expensive crop to produce per acre, and maybe not as expensive as a corn crop or a cotton crop or whatever, but like it's got a cost per acre associated with it.
Cost per acre.
And that has gone up. I'm sure it had to have gone up in the last 5 years.
It has. It probably went up at least 30%. I'm going to say 30%, maybe more.
How do you manage that?
You just know I mean.
There's a lot of people that really want to know the secret, the $1 million question, right? Like,
well, most of the time, your catch will increase every month. You'll see a jump. So with that price coming down and everything, you can maintain pretty good. There's some times where you got to put an X on a pond and it just didn't produce. You just got to put an X on it and move on. And it happens. I mean, when you do some hard laser leveling, that is a huge thing. When you start jerking every other levee out of these fields, that's their burial ground. That's their home. So I mean, on an average pond, we'll stock 2.5 sacks per acre back, but when we do that, we'll laser level a field, we'll have to stock upwards to 5 sacks per acre.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's coming out of, I guess, your profit. Or
it is.
Profit.
I mean, no, it's a huge expense. It's a huge expense, but it's just what you got to do to have that production where you need it. It's kind of like putting corn seed in the ground or whatever. A certain population you got to have to meet your max yield, and it's the same thing. It's a different way we do it, but it's the same. Yeah, it's the same concept.
Yeah, for me, the old row crop redneck. It's hard to wrap my head around it. But I mean, what's really cool about this is, I mean, that stuff that you got from your dad, from your grandpa, like those are lessons you've learned, those seeding rates, and
I'd love to take the credit, but I mean, all the way down to the boats, the traps, the way we do it. I mean, everything has been generational, learned. They figured it out, perfected it. Just all the people in the past that had been pioneered it. Yeah, they perfected it, and I'm fortunate enough and I'm honest enough to say that I appreciate to benefit from it.
Yeah, like that's a lot of knowledge that's been just passed down from times probably as a little boy riding the boats, I'm assuming, with your dad or grandpa maybe. And
my first memories of crawfishing, my dad had a farm. It was in the city limits. We had a Go Devil boat, and I remember I would drive the Go Devil boat and he would pick up the traps.
How old were you?
Oh, I don't know, probably 9, 10.
Really?
Yeah. We'd go drink coffee and then we'd go run crawfish. I mean, just, some of my first memories. It was different. It's different, and sometimes I think we can go so fast that the kids don't get a chance to participate like I did, and I hope I can do that for my kids.
Yeah. Do they? I mean, your kids are.
I got
baby
three
babies.
and a 2.5-month old.
Yeah,
3 years
so
and 2.5
baby
months.
babies.
Yeah,
Not quite working on the farm.
Yeah, my
You got
little
at
girl,
least
she's
a couple
3.
weeks before you put them to work.
She's tough. She likes it.
Does she?
Yeah,
likes
she
getting
really
on the tractor
does.
with you and
Oh
stuff?
yeah, she really does.
I was going to ask you about being raised on the farm. I was too, and there's a lot you can learn in that environment. And not to make it about me, but I kind of wrestle with that a little bit, to be frank.
Yeah.
Like, I'm raising a kid in the middle of Baton Rouge now, and like, I want to take him out to the farm with me all summer, like I was. And
I know.
You have the opportunity to do that now, and
I don't take it for granted. There's 1% of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really a cool thing.
It
you
is.
get to raise your kids.
It can be a
around that.
blessing, but I mean, it can be a curse.
Yeah. If
Where other
Christmas
kids
is-
are having a childhood, you working.
Well,
And it was good. I'm glad I wouldn't trade anything for the world, but it was definitely a good childhood growing up.
yeah, I was going to ask you, what was it like for someone that maybe doesn't, like for you growing up down here? It was a very different looking farm, but it was a farm. But
So my dad was we didn't have a lot of help when I was young. I mean, we had some, but we didn't have the H-2A labor that we have now. So sometimes I had to play a role in
you were really working.
I was needed,
Yeah.
driving a cart. We didn't have somebody else to jump on it. So it was good. I learned a lot at a young age, and I really enjoyed it.
it was cool for me. I was the third of, like, me and my brother and my older cousin. My older cousin now farms with my family, and my brother and I both work in different parts of the industry, but I was the youngest of us 3 boys, so I got the sweeping the shop job.
Yeah.
They got to actually do real, like, tractor driving stuff, but like, that's really it's a responsibility, man.
know.
When you're depended on
Yeah.
to, like, be there all summer and, like, do this work, it's cool.
I know. I ain't gonna say I was the last generation, but like, our family started getting bigger, so my grandpa and my uncle, they went one direction and they farmed on their own, and for no reason, just you just got to go your own. It gets too big.
Yeah.
And then me and my dad went another direction, but I remember, we all were working together every day. We'd go eat lunch at my grandma's house, and then we'd go cut rice, and everybody had a job.
Every day at 12 o'clock. If you came in 11:55, lunch wasn't ready, but at 12 o'clock, my grandmother had lunch on the table. We all ate lunch.
I know.
And at 12:55, we were out the door.
Yep.
And it was time to get back to work. And I have those vivid memories too. But being part of, did you ever really, like, if you were 9 years old getting on a tractor, was that always the option? Was that always plan A? What was plan A for you growing up? What did you want to do?
Career path?
choice.
I thought you meant did I have to go? Yeah.
Oh, no, I know better. Did you always want to be a farmer?
I think I really didn't commit till I was about 16 years old. Like, and not that I was pressured to commit. It's just, they said go do whatever you want, and it's just kind of, when I was 16, I realized, I wanted to come back and farm.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't remember personally having a lot of those
I'm going to be honest, you have to learn you're going to work with family before you figure out if you're going to farm.
And you still probably are figuring it out.
Yeah.
I'm assuming
We
at
all
30,
are.
31
We
years
all are.
old. I remember thinking, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I never was like, I'm going to be a farmer. But also, that was really all I knew as, like, this is a great way to make a living. And it's tough. It's hard. But I was always like, it was always there in the back of my head. I guess it's like, farming is really awesome. Like, that's what I know. It's family, and there's land, and you get to be out get to go deer hunting at the end of the year, all this kind of stuff. So it's a really cool lifestyle. But anyways, I was curious if that was kind of where you were. So 16, you decided that's what you're going to do.
Probably so, 16,
and you didn't really look back. You finished high school and got after it, huh?
Made my first crop loan in a school uniform.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, I was 18, but
That's pretty wild. Huh?
I wouldn't trade it.
You've done pretty well for yourself. I think it's safe to say. You're still working on it.
I'm not going to jinx myself.
But you're now, 12 years into this?
Yeah,
13
I think
years
it'll be my
into
13th crop this coming up year.
What have you, what obstacles have you hit that you were like, I don't know if I'm going to overcome that? And has there been a year that stands out, or an obstacle, or a drought?
2016. When we got the flood of 2016, it just, the way it fell, the crop insurance didn't kick in, and not that it's the way it should have worked, it's just the way it played out, and there was no CFAP at that point. There wasn't nothing, and That was a tough one. It took me a long time to get back straight from that.
And that was, I guess, that was only 4 or 5 years.
I think I was 22.
Golly.
Yeah.
Were you like looking around saying, what else is there to
Nah.
do? Or did you know that farming, you were going to stick it out in that?
I had a pretty good support system. My family was like, hey, we're going to make it through. And we did.
Yeah.
I mean, and better than ever. And I'm glad I didn't quit.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely beneficial. And if you don't believe in God, you will when you farm.
I've heard a lot, like, you don't have faith, just go become a farmer.
I'm telling you, that is a true statement. And on all levels.
Yeah. I don't think I have the capacity for the risk and stress that y'all carry on the daily to do what y'all do.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact, though, you can't do this venture of farming and depending on Mother Nature like you do, depending on markets like you do, without some sense of faith. So you're now farmer number 7,420 that have said that. I don't know how many farmers. Every farmer I've spoken to in my life has always had some kind of element of faith involved.
It really is something. When you see that and you think there's no way out of it, and all of a sudden you still a trucking, and you back right and everything's good and everybody's healthy and it's good. Yeah,
I'm glad that's been the case for you. I know that's not always the case for everybody.
I know.
And that's a blessing to be there for you. I want to finish talking about with this. So you came to me. Your name came to me through Andy Brown. We both love Andy. You've already said it on the truck this morning.
He's a good guy.
But Andy, you work with Andy through the Rice Research Board.
Yes, sir.
And you've interacted with him through the commodities and stuff like that. You are a member of the Rice Research Board and another board you mentioned through the co-op.
Yeah, my co-op.
How important has that been for you in your young farm life to be involved in that level beyond just, the levees of your farm? Like, how important is it to get outside your levees and work in those kind of capacity?
I kind of was nervous to leach out and do it because I didn't want to take time away from my farm, because I was just getting started and I didn't think I had the knowledge to give at that time. But, sitting down with some of them older guys and my co-op board, it's been super beneficial, man. I mean, they always willing to explain, really helps you on the financial side, learn just how another business operates or whatnot. And it's beneficial to everybody that farms and uses the place. You know, it's really good. And the research board, I mean, it's Rice Research. You just learn from the scientific side all the way down to the money side. It's definitely not, you don't show up for fun. It's definitely, work, and it's a learning experience for me, to be honest. I mean, I'm young. I ain't going to sit here and say I want to be the president of any of them, but I do enjoy participating in them.
It's kind of an opportunity to, I guess you kind of, at the research board at least, you get an early look at some of the stuff that they're funding as far as like, new variety development or new, practices, farm practices. That's probably, does it give you a little bit of a leg up? Not that's why you're doing it, obviously, but like, you get kind of like a little insight of like, oh man, that's some cool things that they're doing and that we can invest in as farmers.
I tell you this, I think this is the biggest thing that I see. I do get to give an honest opinion on my perspective of what they're doing. Whether it's a variety, it works on my farm or it don't work on my farm. And I mean, that's the only way they're gonna know the truth. And they have a good selection of guys on there, from a wide range of areas. So I think that is beneficial to them and me, Whether it's, am I doing something wrong, or is it something that just don't work for me, or it does work for me?
And it could be geographic. It could be...
Most definitely. And most of the time, that's what it is. Most of the time, that's what it is. A sandier soil, heavier soil, just stuff like that.
What would you say to... you said this already to me once today, and I don't know if it was on camera somewhere or what, but you said everyone should have some skin in the game.
Yeah.
How valuable is that part of, being on those boards?
I think it's really valuable, but it's only as good as the effort you're going to give. You know what I mean? I don't want to serve on 10 boards, but I do enjoy doing 2 and having that participation. But I think everybody that's could be valuable,
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed in Farm Bureau world that I live in and work in is that, you see the people that get on these commodity advisory committees that all of a sudden get to see a policy come to life and get to see, some disaster payments, some kind of method that we have at Farm Bureau kind of come to benefit them on their farm and their neighbors and beyond. And it's all of a sudden like, oh wait, what? There's some real power there, and not in like a power trip kind of way, but it's like a real value for your time that you put into it. I'm sure you see that on the rice board.
I do, and I'm gonna tell you what, the guys that come up with the numbers, I mean, I just feel like they spot on. You know, sometimes you wonder, you're like, man, I don't know if that's right, but at the end of the day, and you look at it and you're like, it's pretty good. Now, whether it gets funded fully is another question.
Yeah.
But the first number that comes to the table, it's usually pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna give Andy all that credit.
But that comes from input from folks like you and farmers that are actually boots on the ground.
Michael Diliberto, he pumping some information out.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the things that's valuable about being involved in those boards and those committees, is that you have a voice, you have a say in some of that kind of stuff. So, and you said that earlier, having skin in the game, it matters to you and your farm. So like, you should invest some time in something. Yeah. And I know we both have small children. Time is hard. Yeah. Especially, I can't imagine time with 2 children and a farm to manage, but it's hard to give that. But when you do, you see the rewards of it and the benefits of it. So I think that's cool. I like to talk about that when we can, because we need more people, 31-year-old farmers that have 2 kids at home that can still find the time and make the time to invest into that. So thank you. I'm saying that, all that to say thank you for
I appreciate
doing
it. Thank y'all. Farm Bureau does a lot, and we appreciate every bit of it.
What is, I guess, your outlook? We're here mid-January. What's your outlook for this year? Are you optimistic?
I am very optimistic. You know, we do some test trapping and dip netting early on, and I mean, everything looked good. It looked to be average. Now, the cold weather coming, it's definitely going to set it back, but I'm hoping that, I mean, I think everybody's going to have their guys in, and I think crawfish should be full production in, you know, February 5th. You know, if the cold weather gets out of here when they say it's gonna.
And rice? You ready to plant some rice?
We're gonna plant it.
It's gonna be here before you know it.
Yeah, we're gonna plant it. We got the drills. We're about to look over them, and we're gonna plant it. I'm concerned, but
why concerned? With
this new administration, I'm hoping we get some new markets and
trade. Trade opened up.
Yep.
You never know. I mean, it's that's why y'all are paid the big bucks to farm and take all this risk and figure this out.
No, I just hope, and I hope interest rates come down a little bit. We can see a little price stabilization. You know, the high highs and low lows.
Y'all don't like swings that do this?
No, it's hard to make that work. It's hard to budget for that.
Yeah.
Hopefully they pass a farm bill and we can get some kind of price reference and be in good shape.
We haven't even talked about farm bill. Honestly, I was kind of got lost in talking about your 16-year-old Dylan wanting to be a farmer. But farm bill, hopefully we'll have a new one this year, and I'm sure we'll be calling on you and all your neighbors to sound that alarm with us and say, we need a farm bill, not now. We need a farm bill last year. We need a farm bill 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But
hopefully
we'll get there.
Hopefully with some new faces coming in. Hopefully that'll be the change we need.
Yep, I hope so. Dylan, thank you so much. I
appreciate you.
If you're listening to this for the first time, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the in the field version of this off the cuff with all of our notes that are nowhere to be found. Notes are from riding around in that Sierra right there. But anyways, if you're listening to this first time and enjoy it, thanks. Give it a like, give it a thumbs up, subscribe wherever you're listening. And we'll see you again right here next time on the Louisiana Farm Bureau podcast.